Okay. My name is Cathy Lindsey, and I work under Astrological Evolutionary Astrology. I've been doing readings since 1994, just beginning readings at that point. I studied with Stephen Forrest and a graduate of his apprenticeship program, and I studied with Jeffrey Wolf Green. And actually, I'm grateful for the fact that I got to sit with him about 4 different times. Very, very kind of otherworldly and beautiful human being. When that was available to be able to actually work with him and see him in person. I have since then I do new moon and full moon reports. I do readings, really around the world, I guess, and I do a lot of shows and I do a lot of speaking. And even though I get nervous at times with that. So today I am speaking about the fall equinox that was yesterday. And I'll repeat and kind of go over some stuff you probably, many of you probably know, but it is important. And I also want to bring in the fact that we just had the Pisces full moon. And so that the Pisces full moon kind of leads us right into the fall equinox. And most of the aspects were pretty much the same, except for the fact that in the excuse me, wrong chart. Okay, so in the Pisces full moon, Neptune was actually conjunct the moon, and then the Mars and Sun were opposite. So it was a very, very Piscean new moon, full moon. Very magical, very, very spiritual, very intuitive, very feely, and very full moon that, of course, that energy lasts really longer than, I believe, longer than like the 3 days that people usually give it, because it's energy. And so, with the Pisces full moon like that, there's that ability to feel that unconditional love, that ability to feel that oneness. And of course, that's kind of with the new that we're co-creating, where we're heading into that oneness and into the kind of unconditional love, and everybody helping each other and loving each other. Just because we all are one, we're all humans, we're all a human race. We all belong to the same race, human race. And so this very, very dreamy, okay, and spiritual and intuitive full moon puts you right in that state of awareness spiritually and psychically, and that ability to focus on what it is that we want to bring into the new that we're creating, and that energy of spirituality, I'll say, that energy of being able to meditate and manifest, and that ability to manifest is very, very Piscean also, and to envision what it is that we're trying to create and see it in our consciousness. And a lot of the energies of the full Piscean moon, of course, opposite the Sun Mars conjunction at that time, gives you, well, download, you could call it, but I mean, it gives you your intuition is heightened. And so visions, or a lot of aha moments, or, just this kind of, is this really real? I like this feeling kind of thing with that Piscean full moon. Now, that opposition to Mars, so that Mars, that's kind of, take a step, and that's like action, and of course, that ability, well, almost the courage to be able to say, well, I'm going to manifest this and create something different. I'm going to throw out to the collective and to everybody, some peace and some love, and see if we can't, kind of diffuse the hate kind of energy, the division kind of energy, that angst and fear kind of energy that's out in the collective right now. So that ability to do that Piscean um, intention and manifestation and the psychic intuitiveness to manifest that. And of course, I think that's something that we need to keep in the back of our mind all the time right now, is the fact that we really need to watch our words and watch how we present what we're saying. And because the fear and the division and the kind of hate, that energy that's out there in the collective is very strong right now. But of course, love and peace and the higher energies are really stronger. But we need to start realizing what we're saying and how we're saying it, and wrapping our words, with some love and some peace, and watching how we present it so it doesn't come across as ego, or so that it doesn't come across as hurting someone or bullying, or I'm right, you're wrong, this kind of a thing, which brings in the division stuff. We just need to keep sending that peace and love out there with the words that we say. We can say something, but we have to phrase it in a way that we're not adding to that fear and that kind of hate and division and angst that's out there in the collective. And so that Piscean full moon that we had is really, 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 really help set that in a lot of people, that making a lot of people that might want to say something that would hurt somebody or bully somebody, but during that Piscean full moon, intuition going, I don't think I'm going to do that right now. We need to really capitalize on that, and that Piscean and that Neptunian energy, so that we can diffuse and kind of break up that hate energy and that division energy and that bullying and all the kind of crazy stuff that's going on right now, in the whole world. Okay. And we can do that. Those seeds were planted back in the mid 60s, love and peace. And we have basically a lot of the same aspects going on. We just need to water those seeds and remember how we could have a 3-day festival with over 500,000 people, and no one was ever arrested for anything violent. And can we do that today? I'm not sure. Music was involved. Music's very Piscean. Those seeds are out there. We just need to keep watering them so that we can diffuse a lot of that energy out there that we no longer really want around. So taking that from the full moon in Pisces, and realizing that full moon in Pisces energy was still going on when the equinox happened. And the energies are so strong nowadays. We intuitively absorb them so much now. There's so many more people that are aware of these energies and activate them even more, that the day and a half on each side of a full moon, new moon, I believe needs to be extended a little bit anyway. My opinion. But then, like I say, that energy was still active at the time that we went into the equinox. So I did want to bring that up. It was very strong. Also the Mars in Libra, giving us the ability to take a little bit of action on how to present our words and everything and balance it out, Libra. And the love aspect with the Venus and then the Piscean, both of them activating the love part. That energy was very, very strong, and kind of almost like a little gift going into the equinox. So the equinoxes, of course, are equal day, equal night, and here where I live in Des Moines, Iowa, in the middle of the U.S., and those that live south of the equator, we're going into fall, and you guys are going into spring, and it's very interesting that the energy that's around, everything being energy, and the ability to recognize energy more now as we continue to evolve. And so that energy going into the fall equinox is that of kind of harvesting, and it's kind of almost looking forward to being in the home a little bit more. Now, of course, we're trying to get over being locked down for a year and a half, but even myself, I'm feeling like, okay, now's getting ready for hot chocolate and the fireplace and Netflix, and just kind of hunkering in, that kind of energy with the fall equinox. And it just kind of happens. And it's a little bit of the spring cleaning before that, etc. With this, this fall equinox is pretty active. There's a lot going on astrologically with it. And um, the energies, triggering many things in our lives and within the lives of humanity and all around the earth. And being in the United States, of course, we have a lot going on government-wise, but same with countries all over the world. We aren't the only ones. Everyone is going through this, all governments, because Pluto in Capricorn ruling the governments, Saturn in Aquarius for that trip, that long little trip that Saturn's taken in Aquarius, also with Saturn ruling the government and Aquarius ruling we the people and the community and humanity, etc. So there's that part of how all these energies are affecting everyone in the community, everyone, all humanity, but affecting ourselves too. And but they bring along a lot of soul growth. So, and we keep evolving. And so, I say this quite often. When Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008 and started squaring Uranus in about 2010, you look back at that time period and look where we are now. And I mean, they don't even look like they belong together, hardly. We have evolved and transformed so much, and that things don't appear quite like they did then, but we have grown a lot. And the growth hasn't always been easy, of course. The universe seems to be speaking really loudly right now at this point in our evolution. So just kind of tuning into the universe every now and then and listening to what it has to say will kind of help guide you. The energy is transformative. And there's been downloads of information coming in consciously and unconsciously all the time with all these different aspects that have been going on. So at the fall equinox, well, we know that all the equinoxes and the solstices are the cardinal energy when the sun moves into a cardinal sign. And of course, Libra is about balance. It's about the peacemaker. It's about love. It's about creativity. It's about the law. And so, it's a very beautiful season that way. And usually, the Libra season going into October, it does become a little more creative. We're out of like the Virgo, which is very, very house cleaning and everything, which I need a little more of that, and moving into more of a fun sign, a social sign, and artsy and creative, and the fall fun, going out and having fun, with the fall activities. And I'm speaking mostly, of the fall equinox up here on the northern part of the equator. But for those of you that are in Australia and other, other countries that are below the equator, you want to just switch it to your spring equinox. And so we have the 12 hours of daylight. I mean, the 12 equal hours of daylight and nighttime with the equinox. At this particular equinox, though, there's a couple really fascinating things. One of them is the fact that we have two portals that actually open up at the fall equinox. And so the fall equinox itself is a portal. And then um, the Libra sun is on what's called the supergalactic center. And the supergalactic center, it's also a portal. The supergalactic center, there's like over 30 galaxies, including ours, that rotate around the supergalactic center. So when that portal gets activated by the equinox, like it did, we get downloads from other galaxies, because energy is energy, knowledge is knowledge, and whatever your soul and your DNA and your soul growth and evolution, needs, that energy will be activated at that time. So with these openings of the universe, is that opportunity for all of this information to come in, and a little bit of telepathy, basically, during that time. But again, your guidance, your angels, your guides, God, a spirit, Yahweh, whatever your version is of all of that, will know what energies, what knowledge, what activations need to happen to you and your soul at the equinox as those portals open. So over the next several days, weeks, etc., tune into your guidance to see if there's anything new or anything that they might say and to you, to let you know kind of what came in at that time. And again, that's part of meditation, communicating with your angels and guides and your God and etc. But part of meditation is listening. So talking to them and asking questions, but then the listening part. So another very, very interesting thing with the equinoxes is that they are currently aligned with the North Galactic Pole, which is an area that astronomers consider the best for studying other galaxies. When this alignment happens, it is as if an intergalactic doorway has opened, and the timing allows for easier access to the intergalactic energy codes that are coming in through this doorway or this portal. So again, opening up and receiving it. But this is something that astronomers have talked about, and that they actually do more connecting through their telescopes and their astronomical devices, etc., at the fall equinox, because there's that doorway to what they could call it, like the North Pole, and we call it the supergalactic center, where there's the ability to connect with several other galaxies, and that's only at the fall equinox, the way that the stars and etc. line up. And a lot of people refer to the fall equinox as rebirthing. It's a rebirthing time. It's a time to kind of start anew, being balanced into your life and into your community, etc. And because the equinox chart is related to the Earth, the same with the solstices, and it can be very significant in describing current events. The fall equinox chart is very, very interesting, of course, and energies for the next 3 months will happen. So we have a little bit of that activation that was still there, that energy from the Piscean full moon, but opening up the energies and the wisdom, etc., from the fall equinox time with the activations that are happening astrologically. And of course, the one thing we point out right away is the fact that the equinox sun is conjunct Mars. and very powerful. Again, the Mars connection. There's a whole lot of Mars connections going on here, but conjunct the sun itself. So the equinox sun, very powerful, goes right into the cardinal energy, forming the equinox, and there sits Mars. And Mars on the high side is our passion, of course, and our initiation, and our pioneer energy, our ability to take a step, any step, just start moving, that courage and the courage of the pioneers. And it's in a very prominent place this year, this equinox. And so when I was kind of thinking of that and meditating on it, so it's in Libra, and of course we have a lot of law stuff going on, and we have a lot of I kind of look at the Libra law stuff as more, family and more, personal, that kind of thing. Sagittarian laws more international and more, traveling kind of stuff. And there's a lot going on with, women's rights and a lot of different things going on that could be put in that arena of Venus. And then, of course, Mars representing the male sexuality. Mars, it gives you the courage to do things. But of course, on the gray side, there's war, there's accidents, there's arguing, there's fights, there's, a lot of things going on that way with Mars. So is it going to go to the high side or the gray side? And of course, we want to focus, we know this, focus the energy on the high side, because this energy, again, is going to last 3 months until the winter solstice. So, it's kind of adds to kind of the craziness that's going on. And I just kind of put it that way, kind of the air's kind of transformative energy is going on, especially around governments and corporate and et cetera, energies. And when you consider that Mars is just 5 degrees away, that's quite a conjunction and with the equinox sun. So if the energy is playing out in the world, and we can see that, just watching the news. And we have all the stuff with COVID going on everywhere and here. There's things, there's murders. Something just popped up on my phone, and somewhere, I think Tennessee, someone was killed and 13 others injured in a grocery store. So, trying to get through this energy and transformation stuff that's going on right now takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to put the fear out, to keep the fear away, stay out of the fear, send out love and send out hope. And, it takes courage, and it takes action. And to do some of this, it's like focusing on the high side of all that can be a little hard when things are going on like this. I mean, at the moment, it's like, do we feel safe anywhere? Okay, we've got to put the energy out there of safe. We can't fall into the fear. And that's part of this Mars. We don't want to be on the gray side, the war and the abuse and arguments. We want to stay on the high side of it. And of course, this affects the earth also. We have volcanoes going off, we have floods, we have fires, we have, the earth is receiving all this energy also. And so this is accented right now in the world, and we need to heal it. And of course, the sun and Mars in the equinox chart are opposite each other. And so, Chiron is opposite, Chiron, it's opposite Chiron. And so that's the healing part, and healing of everything, healing of humanity, healing of the ability to get along and with everybody, and the love everybody, meaning, getting along with someone in groups, in community, within humanity. You don't always have to agree with people. You don't always have to totally want to get along. but we do need to know how to, this is part of the transformation, to say, I understand what you're saying, etc. Excuse yourself and leave if you don't feel the vibration is what you need. It doesn't need to become abusive, and it doesn't need to become bullying, and it doesn't need to have harsh words. That's what we're heading towards, to be able to do that. And so when you have Libra and Mars in Libra, it conjunct the sun, the life energy at this point, that's a pretty big statement. And one little phrase I like to put with Mars in Libra, because Libra rules, of course, the seventh house of committed relationships. It's like learning the intimate art of conflict. So learning how to be in some kind of a conflict situation, etc., and the intimate art of that, being able to handle it in a more intimate way, and then excuse yourself and move on. And so that's a lesson we're all kind of learning right now through all of this, Pluto and Capricorn kind of thing, for countries and for groups, etc. The intimate art of conflict. And so that's a real important piece, having that Mars and Libra, and then conjunct the sun for the next 3 months. And so then I was thinking, oh goodness, what's going to happen in the next 3 months that we have to learn the intimate art of conflict? And then I just kind of laughed at myself and said, no, we're not making it in, no fear. We're not going into anything really big. But that is something that we are all working on. And so, in this day and age, it's kind of like, everyone has a right to their own opinion, and that's something to think about. That's nice. And then the vibration doesn't feel right, you can pleasantly, just move on to something else, and not have to get into arguments, not have to get into this way's the only way, and not have to get into all of the division and the kind of that chaos that's going on in the world out there right now. I think that's a big message of this equinox, this very powerful equinox. So it's interesting too, because Mars is also trining the conjunctions of the North Node and Black Moon Lilith, and I think Sirius might be in there also. Yes, it's a little more out there, but and actually you could probably bring in Sedna. So that little group, I call it the little group, kind of. And Sedna we're starting to work with. It has a lot to do with climate control and that in that type of thing, water, etc. with Sedna. Starting to work with that a little bit. The North Node, of course, and North Node in Gemini right now. So that Mars Sun is training this whole little group down here. And the North Node in Gemini. And so Gemini wants to see all sides of everything. Gemini, you think of a little kid, Gemini, because it's a youthful energy. It's, the youthful energy of being ruled by Mercury. And so the little kid that asks why all the time, well, why? The one that tries to figure it out, that wants to see all sides of everything, and then wants to communicate it, talk about it, etc. Gemini. And that youthfulness, that innocence kind of youthfulness, communication, and recognizing that, out of the mouths of babes. So it's kind of like with this, that's where we're heading, the humanity and everybody, that North Node right now, till it switches in December, is about kind of the innocence of communication, the asking why, looking at all sides of everything, and out of the mouths of babes. So out of the mouths of those that in a childlike manner. So not out of the mouths, this is the way it has to be kind of a thing, but more with the child kind of, I want to say innocence, but softness or whatever. It is part of that Gemini North Node. And so you have Mars and the Sun, trining it, giving it more courage, giving it more energy, given it more ability to get out there in a balanced kind of way. And then, of course, you have Black Moon Lilith. Well, I mean, in a nutshell, kind of the story of Black Moon Lilith is she got kicked out of Eden because she wouldn't obey Adam. It's the obey part. It's the women's movement kind of thing. And now there's a lot about the abortion thing and giving the government rights to, female sexuality and reproductive organs. Do you want the government to rule it or not? I mean, this is kind of a thing going on right now. Women's movements, women standing up for themselves. Black Moon Lilith has been very active this whole year. And then right now with the trine is getting help from Mars and the Sun in Libra, getting that courage, giving that ability to be the pioneer, to take it out there, say what you need to say it in a nice way and not an argument kind of way. So, and Sirius, of course, that mother energy, the growth energy, the fertility of ideas and getting it out there. So that little group, I call it my little group, this trine to the Mars and the Sun in Libra at this equinox is very, very kind of that eye-opening, but in a way, yes, because this stuff is active right now, in our world. And so it's like the universe is saying, yes, we're going to give you a little bit of help. We're going to give you the Sun and Mars trine energy and Libra to that little group that's wanting to get information out there, the North Node, in a good way, and wanting, for women to be able to talk and stand up for their ideas, and the women's movements, etc. So that's an energy. And remember, these energies are very active for 3 months, and so it's yeah. So anyway, it's kind of like taking this aspect that I just talked about and of the war part of the gray side of Mars, that war part of Mars. So are we going to go into the argument part? Are we going to go into the war kind of part? Are we going to go into what I say goes? My way is the only way. This is how it has to be. You guys are dumb, or you guys are followers or whatever because you don't agree with me. That's that gray side of Mars, and that can be a warrior type of what do I want to say? That can incite or activate a war type of response. This is what we're trying to diffuse in the collective. Okay, so turning it into working things out harmoniously is that high side of that Mars conjunct the Sun and coming down and trining, this little group. It has other aspects too, but just working with that group right now. So we need to take the higher side on all of this, and the high side of Aries. Now remember, Aries, after Uranus went through Aries has softened the me. I am the only one, I'm me, to I will be the best me for the community. I will be the best me for humanity. That's the upgrade of Aquarius energy. The upgrade, of Aries energy with Uranus, the Aquarian energy, going through Aries when it went through Aries. So, that's been activated and highlighted. So in the equinox, the chart, let's see. Excuse me, I got to put my glasses on. So we have so Mars in the equinox chart is also squaring. No, it's not. It's trining Saturn. It's also trining Saturn down there. And so again, that's a harmonious energy. So it's trying to keep things around the government, etc., in a more harmonious energy, a more harmonious way, intimate art of conflict, kind of thing, with a lot of the government rules. The government, the Saturn rules the government and everything, but it also rules structures. etc. So a lot of the structures that are being challenged, etc., and the way that things are run, corporate wise, government wise, all the and all all these areas, including schools and everything, right now. So again, that Mars and Sun, Libra energy coming down and trining, is the universe giving us another dose of help there. So it's kind of like the second trine there that it's a ground trine actually, but it's like that's helping us, and the universe is wanting us to head that energy to the higher side of the Mars, and this conjunct the Sun in Libra at this equinox. So I mean, it's like the universe is giving us a whole lot of assignments. You want to look at it that way with this fall equinox, and with that energy lasting for 3 months. So it's like we have these little assignments here that the universe is sending us harmonious energy, and sending us energy to try to work things, in a different manner. And we need to really concentrate on that, because there's people that don't know that that's where they should be heading. And so we're going to have to kind of take the slack up. So it's kind of like, Mars is asking us to stand up, make some changes with courage, take action when needed for yourself and for your community. So, it, on the high side, like I said, think of it as an adventure. This is going to be kind of exciting. Let's do some, activities on the high side. Let's take it out of the anger and the fighting and the aggression, and think of it as like pioneer part of Mars, and make it kind of fun, discover new ways to do things. That's part of what this is saying, and giving us the energies to do that. But you got to be cautious, because there could be some volatile things happening, some more type of things happening, throughout the world, and personally in your own little world, where things can be like, the war on the virus, so it doesn't have to be actual war, but taking a stand with the courage. So Mars is kind of the key that's going through everything, in these 3 months that this chart actually, is talking about the energies of the equinox lasting for 3 months, and until the winter solstice. And so Mars is the main activator here. And so, I kind of I wanted to see how far, Mars, I brought up a couple charts. I wanted to see myself, where Mars was going to be hitting over the next 3 months, or activating. And so on October 6th, we have a new moon in Libra. And Mars is active in that chart. And it's conjunct the new moon, actually. And so they're all at 13 degrees. Mars, the sun, and the moon are all at 13 degrees. And so I just wanted to go ahead and see, how this activation of Mars is playing out in these 3 months. And so that's part of it. And I also just went ahead and looked at the couple of eclipses coming up. We have one on November 19th at 27 degrees of Taurus, and Mars is like 6 degrees out or something, conjunct Mercury and the sun, all in Scorpio. So I went to the next eclipse, which is a new moon eclipse in Sagittarius on December 4th. And for some of us in the United States, it's on the 3rd, because it's right there around midnight. And it's at 12 degrees Sagittarius, and Mars is at 6 degrees in conjunction with the South Node at that eclipse. And so winter solstice, Mars and the sun are conjunct. So I just pulled up those main charts coming up, and it's amazing how uh, Mars is the main planet activating and initiating things during this whole 3 months between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So Mars is the one that we really have to keep an eye out on as we watch the transits, etc. So I'm looking at my the chart here and the charts that you're posting. Thank you. They're a little harder to see on my phone, but because for those of you that don't know, my iPad, they're working on internet stuff here where I live, and so it's going in and out. So I'm on my phone. So I'm going to look here at Saturn, and as we know, Saturn is trining, the Sun and Mars, and of course it rules the government and all the structures and everything, and it's a little more on the conservative side. Integrity and loyalty and maturity, and of course it's in Aquarius, which really, maturity and integrity, yeah, with Aquarius. But Aquarius isn't quite as conservative as like Saturn and Capricorn, but Aquarius is about humanity. It's about our whole group. And so Saturn's little move through Aquarius, and of course it's squaring Uranus that rules Aquarius in Taurus, and this is going to go on for another year or so. This square, and the square will start to move a little bit, but Saturn in Aquarius. So it's giving us an idea, and it's giving us the energies of what Pluto's going to be activating when Pluto moves into Aquarius. And so it's really interesting how some laws or some traditions or whatever within our communities, etc., are becoming more focused on community, more focused on the people, which would be Aquarius, and the genius energy of Aquarius and thinking outside the box. So it's been interesting watching Saturn as it goes through Aquarius, as it will, be going through there for the next following year, giving us an idea of that Plutonian energy, or that Aquarian energy, and how it may activate and work a little bit within the government there. And the fact that it's trining the Sun and Mars right now in Libra, the peacemaker, the one that can balance, it's giving us a little bit of that view. It's giving us the ability to see that really, with from the universe, etc., with the peacemaker and the law, the Libra part, that we can bring some peace and balance to the government, etc. And so with Mars there, it's saying it may take some courage to get that to the higher side, but with Saturn in Aquarius right now, it's not so much about me and I'm a big corporate leader, or I'm that you can get with Capricorn, but more about what can I do for the people, what can I do for the community, think outside of the old laws and get think into some of the future laws, etc. So that Saturn in Aquarius is giving us a glimpse of that, and Mars and the Sun in Libra is giving us the courage to bring out some of that love, and also bringing out the creativity. How is the government and the laws and corporate, how is all that really going to start playing out with Pluto and Aquarius? And when Pluto moves into Aquarius, excuse me. So watching that is very, very interesting, and following how that moves around. Also in the chart of the the equinox, we have a cardinal T-square. And of course, we've been dealing with cardinal squares, T-squares, and grand crosses ever since 2010. But this cardinal T-square in the fall equinox chart is intense, of course, all squares are, but it's very powerful. And we need to handle it again, the energies in the highest way, so it doesn't become volatile. The cardinal square consists of Pluto at 24 Capricorn. It's a T-square, squaring Mercury at 24 Libra, and opposing the conjunction of the moon at 21 and Eris at 24 Aries. So the T-square involves Pluto, Mercury, and Eris, and then the Sun and the, Mars. Anyway, it involves the Sun and Mercury because it's of the equinox. The actual T-square, I want to clarify that, is Eris in Aries, Mercury in Libra, and Pluto in Capricorn. The backdrop of the Libra, the equinox, Sun and Mars. So the fact that Pluto is squaring Eris alone is very powerful and transformative. And with Eris adding in the energies of the chaos and discord, that wild card energy, you're never quite sure what actually is playing out when Eris is involved. And just like the mythology of Eris, I mean, the one that we hear, all the time, with the Trojan War, etc. It was hard. It was hard for someone to try to figure out what Eris was up to. They knew she was up to something. That's kind of that wild card. You're not quite sure where it's going to play out at. And then add in, the moon, and much of the transformations and chaos, etc., become very emotional because Eris is conjunct the moon. So, so that brings in the emotional part, because at the fall equinox, the moon is at 21 Eris and Aries, and Eris is at 24 Aries. And so it becomes very emotional also. And that emotion's going to be triggered again, that energy, until the winter solstice. So chaos, discord, jealousy comes in there, competition, out of bounds competition, I like to call it. Emotionally is an energy that's going to be there. It's going to be there, feeling it. You don't have to acknowledge it all the time, through till we get, to the winter solstice for the next 3 months. And of course, that's squaring Pluto, transformation. And we've been through a lot of transformation with Pluto over the years. And like I tell people, transformation isn't easy. And if, Pluto is activating something in your chart, or the chart of the United States, or the chart of France, or whatever, transformation isn't easy. And if it appears easy, then you're not doing the work, because transformation takes work. And with the help of the universe, it's almost like you can't help but transform, because you're put into situations where you have to transform that energy in some way. And a way to look at that is like here in the United States, with all the political stuff going on, et cetera, and all these secrets coming out, and et cetera, all this. So, because the United States is having its first Pluto return. Well, part of that, and part of transformation of Pluto, regardless if it's personal in your own chart, or in the chart of, like I said, a country, things are going to be put in your face that aren't real fun to. Things are going to be put in your face to where you have to acknowledge it. You can't bypass it. It's there. It's there for you to see, so you can transform it. And so it's like, it's not easy, but in hindsight, you can always see the growth and the transformation that has happened, after after a Pluto transit. So in this T-square, we have Mercury also. So it's indicating a transformation of how we are speaking to people. What knowledge are we taking in and what are we saying about it? Mercury in Libra, peacemaker, the diplomat, speaking in a more loving way because of Venus ruling Libra, in a more balanced way, speaking in a more balanced way. And this is very prominent in this chart because of the fact that Mercury is in Libra, but it's in a cardinal T-square with the moon in Aries and then Pluto. So over this next few months, this transformation of how we individually, how we as a community, how we as humanity start speaking. And so it's that there's a lot of energy and a lot of lessons, etc., that this chart is giving everybody the opportunity to make these changes, putting things in our face that, well, I guess I got to deal with that because I can't seem to get around it. It's right here. And that's how the universe helps, quote unquote, helps us transform and helps us make changes that we need to make. And so this is a very, very powerful T-square. And again, with the moon involved, there's emotion, things, chaos. Remember, everything is in chaos basically out there, but out of chaos comes creativity. And so we're creating the new, we're co-creating the new. And that started in 2010, as many of you know, the co-creating of the new. We can't create the new totally on a crumbling foundation, which is kind of where everything is right now, pretty crumbled foundation. We've got to get it to where all of the things that are helping the foundation crumble get addressed so that we can build the new, co-create the new. And so out of the chaos, you can look at the chaos in a good way because it's bringing you the ability for the creativity to move forward. And then that's bringing in the Mercury, and that's also writing, not only just speaking, but writing, teaching, all of that. And because I also want to throw in here the fact that Mercury is in Libra, of course, Mars and the Sun conjunction is in Libra, and Libra is about relationships. So a lot of this energy and a lot of things and a lot of lessons, etc., will come through relationships. Love relationships, marriages and, romantic relationships, friendships, relationships, work relationships, relationships between countries, relationships, between organizations. It's law, that's all based on relationships, Libra. So it's going to be a focus on relationships over this next 3 months here. So, we got to help dissolve some of this fear and some of this chaos around change and transformation, through balance, through being diplomatic, through being the peacemaker. And again, finding a creative way to make that all work for everybody. And it's kind of a challenge, but we can do it. Pluto always brings truth. It always brings truth to the surface and brings shadow, material to the surface. Regardless of what, house or sign, it's always a transformation in that area or wherever Pluto happens to be hitting or activating in a chart. And remember, Pluto only cares about the transformation of your soul or the transformation of the soul of say, the United States or the Earth, or whatever that soul represents, within a chart. Within a chart. And so that's really all that Pluto really cares about, is transformation of the soul. And another thing I wanted to bring out is, well, I think most of you probably know that Pluto will be in Capricorn until January of 2024, when it enters Aquarius for about 25 years. But it does dip into Aquarius from March 24th of 2023 to June 12th of 2023. And we'll learn a whole lot. We'll get little tidbits, I should say. We'll get little messages, and we'll get little bits of understanding of what it's really going to be like when Pluto totally moves into Aquarius during that time in 2023, and before it retrogrades back into Capricorn. So when I'm looking at the chart of the equinox and I look at the polarity point of Pluto, there's no planet there. It's Cancer energy. And of course, that is a primary energy that we've been focusing on really since the pandemic set in and everything got shut down in 2020, when the North Node was in Cancer. And at that time, it's kind of like I knew, or we knew, that there was focus on home and family. The nodes were, getting down to where they were getting about ready to switch signs, which would have been like in May. They're like in March and April when things got shut down. And then it was, it's like the universe gets serious at times. If we're not quite getting it, it's like, okay, I'll do, this will happen, put this in their face so that we can move into this. And the point it was that I believe the universe was making at that time was that we needed to pull ourselves out of that Capricorn South Node, the right side of Capricorn, where business and money was everything. And CEOs and business leaders, et cetera, would work almost 7 days a week, or they'd come home every night after the kids were in bed, and maybe once or twice a month actually have meals with their family. Okay, that wasn't something that was real agreeable, let's say, to the Cancer energy or to the world itself. And so one way to get the family back connected again was a virus, which Pluto rules viruses. And I think Chiron was square the nodes at the time, etc. It made sense when I saw that. And so this focus is a big focus of the universe, is focusing on the family. It's okay to spend a Saturday night playing Monopoly with your kids and laughing and, this kind of a thing. People discovered it was nice to be with their families. And now that things are opening up, people are saying a whole lot more. Okay, Mercury and this little group, of Black Moon, Lilith, et cetera, are saying more to a lot of the companies. We want to work from home some days. We want to be with our family. We don't want to work or be, what do I want to call it, where you have to come in and do overtime, or you have to work until 9 o'clock, or CEOs that make it so that, we work all the time. That's shifting, and people are starting to say something about it, because they got to realize how important family was, how important home life is. And so that was a big switch. I sorry we had to have a pandemic, but that's kind of what put it in our face of what we were missing with the reality of family and love and humanity, etc. I think that it's very powerful when you understand that part of the polarity of Pluto being in Cancer. It's like, don't forget this. There's not a planet there at the moment, but don't forget this. Because Pluto's in this powerful T-square about, Libra and love and talking. Don't forget the family when you look at the polarity part of a point of Pluto. So we're receiving a whole lot of energies, the kind of chaotic, overwhelming. They're very challenging at times. The body is getting kind of stressed out. It's almost a constant stress a little bit. and it becomes overwhelming. We got to remember to listen to our body. Again, polarity point of Pluto here, Cancer. Listen to your body. Know when you need to take a day off. Know when you don't need to write that report because there's too much going on in your current world and you're becoming overwhelmed and your body's stressing. And many of us are quite familiar with that right now. And don't go into guilt because you missed a report, or you missed this, or you missed that, or you missed going out listening to your favorite rock band or something, because you had to take care of your body that's stressing out, that's becoming overwhelmed with this energy, this very, very strong energy. And I have people say, when's this going to end? And it's like, oh, sometime after 2024, or in 2024, Pluto moves out of Capricorn. The universe isn't going to just say, okay, everybody just rest right now, because the universe knows it only has these couple years here to get done what needs to be transformed within our communities, our humanity, our life, on the earth here. What needs to be transformed. It's not going to be easier to transform the rules and the structures and the government and corporate America once Pluto moves out of Capricorn. Then the universe loses its punch. It loses its force. It loses that ability to push. And as we all know, many laws and things have been put in everybody's face. It may not all get changed while Pluto's in Capricorn, and some of it may get changed when it moves into Aquarius, but the seeds are being set right now of what needs to be changed, what needs to be upgraded, what needs to be transformed. It's been put in our face. The seeds are there. It's kind of like in the mid-60s when everybody started really taking care of the earth back then, the hippies, etc. And, we would trash and litter. I mean, this kind of thing became a really big thing. And I remember, I was a hippie back then. I remember signing petitions for Earth Day, signing petitions for, litter, marching, peaceful marches, for the earth. It was the 1970s, after the Pluto-Uranus conjunction of the 60s, when Congress finally passed and it became an actual day, Earth Day. But we marched for it. We knew about it. We started making changes. We signed petitions back then. It took a little bit for it to actually be changed into law. So, realizing that it's being put in our faces and we can be activated and start it now. We may not see it while Pluto's in Capricorn, but we will see a lot of changes as we continue to move forward. Any questions from anybody on anything so far?
Hi, Cathy. I have a couple of comments and kind of observations that I noticed. One is that with this chart, asteroid Lilith is also down here with the moon in Eris. And I know, one interpretation of it is where we find the power to speak out.
Yes.
And it's in the third house for the United States, in this Equinox chart. So, and in Aries, and you talk about planting seeds and stuff. And then, kind of as a going on from that, when Pluto goes into Aries, Pluto goes into Aquarius. Look at all this Aries energy that, then too. And the moon is at the same, very close to the same place. The moon and Eris in Aries.
Yes. Yeah. That's a mouthful. Yeah. Yeah. It's very prominent right now. With like you were saying, like Eris and then the moon right now, and the speaking out with Lilith, the ability to stand up and speak out. And I'll tell you one thing that really not got to me, but really, came to me during this time with Lilith and the speaking out and the like you said, the Mars and the Eris and the moon, it being in the third house, etc. Is the fact that one thing that has been brought up and put back into our faces, and that women are starting to stand up for and against, is this whole abortion thing. And I'm not getting political. I'm just saying that we went through this in the mid 60s, kind of the same thing with the abortion stuff. And it's been brought up again. And so that's the universe that brought it up again. And, just the careful part of it is giving control over to the government again. And that's the government, that's Pluto and Capricorn. And that's what's made this so almost volatile in this time period now that we're in now, that same issue has been put back up into our face, that was around in, the mid 60s and the hippieism part. Just it's again, things being put in our face, and really, really North Node Gemini looking at all sides, having to do with, okay, giving the government permission over somebody. And that kind of goes, I'm not getting political. I'm looking at what, because of Black Moon Lilith, giving the women rights to stand up for. And so very interesting that it has surfaced again at this particular time in history, when the 60s part one, as I referred to, the mid 60s, the same issue was very, very prominent. Now we have other things going on. We have Pluto and Capricorn, and we have the Eris and the moon and Black Moon Lilith, being recognized. When planets are recognized, or points, the new planets, Sedna and Eris, etc., their energy becomes very, very strong and prominent on Earth. Even though they were out there before, they didn't get a glyph and they didn't get acknowledged astronomically or astrologically. Once they are acknowledged, that energy becomes very strong. And so we have a lot, Eris, a Black Moon Lilith, that was kind of hidden for a while, energy become very strong. Sedna, energy becoming very strong. And several of the new ones, there's Maki, there's several other new planets that energies are starting to become effective, but these very much so. So, it's interesting that they have made a focus on something new being put in our face that was active back in the 60s. So I don't know if that answered your question or.
No, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. There were some other things going on. I'll run through briefly here. I don't know how much time I have left, but
probably about 5 minutes.
Okay, well, real quick. We also had, I think I talked about the Cardinal Square, and I think I'm missing it. We also had, let me look here. Oh yeah, Uranus is opposing Venus, and it can get Venus love in Scorpio, opposing Uranus. That could become very sparkly and very, very interesting and very, what do I want to say? Attractive, magnetic. Uranus and Venus together can be magnetic. Venus and Scorpio, that energy is also very prominent in the chart. And of course, Scorpio has a very high spiritual side to it, besides the sexual side, and all on the high side. You want to keep it on the high side. And what else was going on? I think I've touched on everything. Actually, we have the Saturn, of course. Uranus square going on, and so yeah. One little tidbit on that is that we have a Cardinal T square going on. We've been having this Cardinal square, getting more active into T squares and squares and grand crosses for ever since 2010. And I mean, it's a very stressful kind of energy, a very, very cardinal energy, birthing of new and urgency. But we've also had for quite a while now, and will for a while longer, a fixed square between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. And of course, Uranus rules Aquarius, tying that all together even more. That fixed energy is very stubborn. And that fixed energy is, digging your heels in. No, I'm not going to change, that kind of a thing. And then you've got this cardinal energy going, oh yeah, we're birthing of new. That's creating even more stress energy, within the planet, etc., to have a cardinal square and a T-square at the equinox and a fixed square going on at the same time with major planets. So we have both of those energies really activating everybody and everything also. So that's something to kind of recognize and, putting it out, putting that energy out there on the higher end. And of course, there's a paper I wanted to say, and I can't find it. Anyway, I wanted to just say something that's called passing the baton. I'm not sure where that ended up at. But remembering that kind of passing the baton is Saturn in Aquarius until it moves into in March 7th of 2023. We have Pluto that will move into Aquarius for a couple months, and then in January 2024 move in for 25 years. It's almost like Saturn in Aquarius is doing all this work and then passing the baton on to Pluto, because it's all happening there kind of in 2023, and with Pluto moving into Aquarius for a while, and then the first month of 2024 it moves into Aquarius. I say permanently, but for like 25 years. So that kind of passing the baton on of Saturn, giving the baton to Pluto, which was why I said earlier, really kind of watch and pay attention to things happening while Saturn is in Aquarius right now. We also have the true node moving into Taurus on December 18th. So that means the South Node's in Scorpio. So that's going to become very interesting. All the gray side of Scorpio is going to be put in people's faces during this time period when we have all this other stuff being put in our faces. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing from the universe. And so, there's a whole lot happening everywhere. And I do believe that when you understand the energies in your chart, and then how the transits, et cetera, are affecting you personally. And then you learn how the big picture, the transits affect the whole earth, all humanity, everything is energy, as above, so below, everyone, everything alive's being hit. You can navigate those energies out there a lot better when you understand your own energies a little bit. And then you can navigate those energies out there when you walk out your front door, when you understand the energies that are happening for everybody, that are happening above, as above, so below. So it gives you the ability to handle things a lot better. Any other questions? Anything?
I don't see any. This has been wonderful, Cathy. A lot to think about. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, so everyone just kind of stay on your toes. Stay to the high side of everything. Try to diffuse the collective competition, hate, division, all that stuff that's out there in the collective right now pretty strong, because we can diffuse it. So happy equinox.
Thank you.
Thank you.